Hello, fellow lovers of liberty. My name is Matthew Dalton.
And I'm Robert Wasmund, and welcome back to the Journalistic Revolution. Today we are going to discuss several topics, and we're going to be trying a new format and sending out smaller videos so you guys don't have to sit through 30 to 40 minutes worth of us talking. We are going to be discussing the NDAA and having an interview with Dan Johnson, leader of P.A.N.D.A, spokesperson for P.A.N.D.A. We're going to be talking about Romney's speech, but we're going to be looking at it from a different point of view. We're going to recap Libya because some new information has been made public about that. TSA tasers, which was broken by
Jesse Ventura.
We decided to look into that. The Apple patent on being able to shut off Apple phones during political areas and such. And then we're also going to do a quick little recap on the Paul Festival because there was a new video released by We Are Change. First, we're going to go ahead and introduce the interview with Dan Johnson. He is a 19-year-old, works with P.A.N.D.A, that's People Against the National Defense Authorization Act, and we're just discussing what directions he's heading and how he felt about the appeals that just took place.
What is involved, how they're involved, and how you can get involved.
Yes, because this is the point of the show, is to help people get involved. Here is the interview.
Welcome back to the Journalistic Revolution.
In this segment of Journalistic Revolution, we are going to be having an interview with Dan Johnson. He is the one of the forefront leaders in P.A.N.D.A, which is People Against the National Defense Authorization Act, correct? Daniel, how long have you been doing this?
We started P.A.N.D.A back in late January, so we're looking at about a little over 6 months or so.
Okay. Now let me ask you this. What was it that got you involved in being against the National Defense Authorization Act?
Yeah, well, the way my awakening, as you could call it, came about, I watched a YouTube video online on the NDAA called 61 Senators Betrayed You Today. I'd always had kind of an interest in politics because at my work we'd watch Fox News every single lunch period. So I'd always had some sort of an interest in politics, or at least talking about it, or half politics as you'd call it. But I would have been one of those people who I would have stood with one hand, I would have a sign that said the Patriot Act is amazing, and with the other hand I'd have an American flag with a bullhorn. I would say, kill all the terrorists. That was my view of the world. And seeing this YouTube video on the NDAA, it shocked me. I think I almost actually physically fell out of my chair watching this video. And I watched it about 6 or 7 times afterward, just in utter shock that this could happen in America. And what I decided to go on a month and a half. This is during finals week, and this is during all this stuff was happening, but I decided to take a month and a half and research the NDAA. What is it? What's the language in here? What are the different legal interpretations of this language, etc., etc.? And about January 3rd-ish, I decided that, look, this is horrible. This is the worst thing to come out since Stalin. And I wanted to, 20 years down the road, I wanted to look back and say either A, I was behind that, and I wanted to be proud of it, or B, I was against it, I wanted to be proud of it. I didn't want to have to hide a big part of my history.
Well, let me ask you a question. Oh, sorry, Dan. I mean, how old are you?
19.
19. And what do you do for a living? Where do you work?
At the moment, well, my last job I got rid of because they wanted me to lie about the prices of the cell phones. So that was fun. So right now I am currently unemployed. My ethics get in the way of employment.
But you're currently a student full-time?
Yeah, full-time student, and I might be working in the future. I may not. Some good people in P.A.N.D.A have been keeping me around, keeping me afloat for a little bit. So.
Well, the reason why I asked is because I want to kind of bring the attention to the youth movement, and you're 19 years old, you're never too young to get involved, and I just wanted to point that out for our viewers.
Now, to get a little bit more specific about, in the video that you saw and the reasons of the NDAA, what clause or what specific moment was it when researching the NDAA that you were all like, yeah, no, this is definitely bad?
There was 2 points, actually. There was one point in the video where Rand Paul says you can be arrested for having 7 months of food or 7 days of food in your house. And that was completely shocking to me because, believe it or not, the only reason that was shocking to me because he had a little R next to his name instead of a little D next to his name, which the rest of people in the video did. And and it's funny, but that's the way it was. And the last straw, I think, was Amnesty International's article. It said Obama basically says, "Trust me," and we don't believe him. And that was kind of the last straw in the whole fight in my mind. Like, okay, what is going on here? And that was pretty much the last straw right there. And I decided that I'm never going to live in a country where they allow this type of tyranny over our liberty. We were founded on liberty. We were founded on freedom. I'm not going to let my country dissolve into a Nazi Germany or a Stalinist Russia or a Pol Pot's Cambodia. I am not going to let my country go down that path. So I decided right there that, look, I'm either going to fight this or I'm going to go back and never sleep again. I like sleep, so I continue fighting.
Let me ask you a question. What was it about the NDAA specifically that separated itself from the Patriot Act that made you change your mind? Because you said that you supported the Patriot Act, but you were against the NDAA. Now, obviously, you've probably done some more research. You're probably against the Patriot Act now. But what was it at that moment that separated those two things?
The fact that anyone could be arrested for that, the fact that anyone, any person, you didn't have to do something wrong. There was no retroactive justice system there. Just the fact that there was no retroactive justice, you could be picked up from your home and taken somewhere. You see, I'd studied World War II. We had one of the best libraries in the nation sitting downtown. I took every single book on World War II they had. They didn't have anymore. I went back and they said, and I knew what would happen. And when I saw the similarity between the 1933 Enabling Act and the NDAA, that's what did it. Patriot Act probably had a counterpart in Germany, but 1933 Enabling Act and NDAA, when those two lined up, that was it.
Okay, so what you're saying then is it's not necessarily the law, but it's a slippery slope that can lead us towards further freedoms being taken away from us. Is that what I'm getting?
I wouldn't even say it's a slippery slope. Once you hit this point, it's a downward drop. There's no slippery slope there. It's you have Germany pass the Enabling Act. Not long afterward, they were out invading countries. It's no longer a slippery slope at that point. You passed slippery slope. You're into dead drop.
Okay, yeah, I completely agree there. So what has P.A.N.D.A and yourself done since the awakening back in January?
Yeah, we started out in Bowling Green State University, and we went down to City Council, and this is kind of the catalyst for taking it national. We went down to City Council, had 4 weeks to plan our huge event, and we had about 25 people actually show up at City Council from Occupy, from Young Republicans, from Young Americans for Liberty, from whoever, and all went up there and spoke their piece, why they care about NDAA, why NDAA is bad to them. And we had a resolution drafted for us by Rhode Island Liberty Coalition, which later became part of the 10th Amendment Center. And the mayor looked at it, and we'll kind of consider it. 500 online petitions, gave it to them. They didn't care. They didn't even look at those. And an email I got, CC'd on from the mayor, said, these students, and I quote, these students should have taken Government 160. They don't know the inner workings of our national government, and I thank the chair of City Council for educating them. At that point, I was devastated. After all that work I'd put in, biggest thing I'd ever organized in my life. I've done Eagle Scout projects before. I've done other things like that. Nothing was like this. And it was the biggest thing I'd ever done, and I decided, okay, either I'm going to just drop it here and say I tried, or I'm going to follow Master Yoda where there's do or do not. There is no try.
Our Star Wars fans are going to love you for that one.
And it was, okay, I'm going to do it. And I made a decision at that point. Under my watch, never will this ever happen in America again. Never will someone go through that much work and that much effort, go to their city council and get shot down like that ever again. So we created P.A.N.D.A to put pressure. We connected with every single organization fighting the NDAA. If there's an organization fighting the NDAA and they have any sort of recognition whatsoever, we've either contacted them or we're working with them right now. That's because we, as our founding mission, as our founding principle, wanted to be able to bring pressure to bear. So when someone stood up to the plate and said, you know what, it's done, I'm stopping it here, we wanted to be behind them the whole way and make sure they never experience what I did.
That's awesome. And we thank you for your service and activism. Now, what actions are you and these other organizations that you're involved with taking? Let me rephrase the question. What actions were you taking up until the point of the first appeal?
As far as the lawsuit goes, we never really placed much faith in it. It was never something that we had looked at as, oh, this is going to save us, because I'd seen what the Supreme Court has done with different cases. For example, the strip searching case. You can be strip searched for any reason, up to and including speeding. So what we were doing until the first appeal is the same thing we're doing now, is building chapters in areas and nullifying. Before the appeal, we had a Pennsylvania constable who we're still working with say that both NDAA and Patriot Act will not take effect in Pennsylvania under his watch.
Wow.
And he's only one guy, and he only has he'll have a small office soon, but even still, he said, I will interpose. So if he hears about Patriot Act or NDAA being used anywhere in Pennsylvania, he has jurisdiction to go over there and stop them. And awesome. that was one of our victories. And then we've been just making connections, because we wanted to make sure our base was solid before we go out and start pressuring lawmakers. The first try, you're a lot more likely to get it on the first try than you are getting defeated and trying a second time, same place.
Let me ask you a question. Currently, you said you're opening up chapters. Where can people go if either A, they want to find a chapter, or B, they want to start a chapter?
Yeah, it's real simple. It's pandaunite.org. That is panda as in the little fuzzy bear, unite.org. And they can go there. There's a chapters list. They can see what chapters we have. We have about 74, I think, right now. We added 5 or 6 in the past 2 days, so wow. We're growing pretty fast.
We'll put that link at the bottom of the page as well, so people can find it easily.
Yeah, and that website will have all the resources anyone would need, from who is a terrorist to what is the NDAA for sheriffs, for legislators, no matter who you are, there's a section of that page that you'll find interesting, from YouTube videos to radio interviews. Everything related to NDAA, the best of the best, is on our website.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, what was your opinion about the first appeal, the one that a lot of people thought was going to be a win?
Including me. I'm not going to lie. I thought that was a win. I thought this was a stall tactic. I even bought into a conspiracy theory somebody hit. Well, I didn't buy into it 100%, but I thought, well, what a great idea. Obama was actually stalling or trying to get it knocked down through the law by barely making a case, so that nobody else could have used it after him, especially if he lost. Well, after the second appeal went through, I kind of learned my lesson now on that one. But what was your opinion after the first appeal?
After seeing the corruption and seeing the absolute backstabbing / whitewashing that went through with NDAA, that all accompanied the bill, after seeing how they twisted the words, after seeing how well the language was muddled, it must have taken like a month just to work on a sentence on that bill, because it was muddled so well. And after seeing all that, looking at that court case, they went through too much work. Practically, they went through too much work. And even when not even the appeal, even when the temporary injunction was put in place, I said, look, practically they went through too much work to let it die here. They're not going to let it die here. It's a temporary injunction. If it goes permanent, it will be appealed. And the appeals court will not rule, and they already haven't, will not rule in the plaintiff's favor. So we never gave the court case anything besides it does a great job of raising awareness. Mainstream media won't cover P.A.N.D.A. We haven't even been mentioned once. And
that's our goal, is to get your name out there.
good. And they did mention the NDAA case. So mainstream media will touch on that case every once in a while, which means it brings awareness to the bill. But that's all we gave it, and we applaud them for bringing awareness, but it's not, I don't think, and I make this prediction, I don't think it's going to be a win. We made that prediction back when the permanent injunction was passed. Permanent injunction, I get the word, I go, well, we've seen this before. And I put out a press release immediately on our website, went out to about 150, 200 different websites that night that said, look, yes, it has been struck down permanently. There's also 60 days for them to appeal. And we believe they will appeal. So we put out that, and sure enough, within 24 hours, there was an appeal by the Obama administration. And that shocked me, how fast they went after it. It was almost like a premeditated appeal. It was very, very quick.
Especially from a man who said that the indefinite detention clause was the reason he was hesitant from signing it. You would think that to back up his own words, he would have been like, "Oh, it's been appealed. Well, then let's let it go." Well, the
way I like to look at that, like you said, is hesitant. Okay, if I were to give either one of you access to my bank account to take $50 out of it every day if you wanted to. And by the way, if you took $50 out of my bank account every day, I'd be broke not too far from now. but if I were to give you that access, and even if you were to say, man, I'll take it, but I won't use it. I'm not. You might come to the point your car broke down right outside the bank. You're like, I only need $50 for oil. I'll pay him back. Okay, but you still have that access. The Founding Fathers said, let us not trust in the conscience of man, but bind them in the chains of the Constitution.
Good quote.
Just because he says, and I quoted this in WorldNet Daily, just because he says something doesn't mean he isn't lying. And that's where that comes in, like you said, signing statement. He said he wouldn't, and now he's out there in full force saying it's unconstitutional for us to knock down NDAA.
I've seen that quote thrown around a couple times, actually.
Yeah. Well, so are you saying to any Democrat and liberal viewers that we may have, which we actually have at least one,
for now,
but to any of them, would you want to let them know that this is proof of Obama's lies, or do you think that's just proof of his ignorance?
I would say it's proof of a trend, because Obama is just the spearhead of this gradual trend toward losing our liberty entirely. Every country goes through this phase. You have Benjamin Disraeli. Are you guys familiar with him?
No, enlighten us.
Okay.
Enlighten us, yeah.
Former British Prime Minister. And he coined the term cycle of the body politic. And so it's a cycle that every country goes through. So it's the cycle of the body politic. You go from bondage to religious freedom to liberty, prosperity to abundance to apathy into dependency right back into bondage. And
Wow.
This is the cycle. So it's not the fact that Obama himself, he may be a bad guy, he may be a good guy. I don't know, but he's at the forefront of this cycle. And as such, as this cycle goes, he is required to do as the cycle tells him to, which is we're continually losing our liberties. Now, whether he was bad from the start and went up into office, or he became bad when he went into office, doesn't matter. He is right now. And Mitt Romney's no better. It's just that and we know that. And it's just that cycle of the country going through. However, what gives me hope, and not in Barack Obama's campaign slogan, just hope, is the power of the internet. For the first time, instantaneous communication. Because I would never have known about NDAA without the internet. Ever. It would not have been mentioned on TV.
This interview wouldn't be possible without it.
Exactly. Instantaneous communication can break that cycle for the very first time in history. We have a chance of not only reversing but breaking that cycle for the first time if we utilize it right.
It's part of the reason why we started what we're doing is that we want to get the facts out to people as opposed to the lies that they hear from the mainstream media. Can you do me a favor? Can you get us that link or some semblance of a link to that cycle so people can go there and look it up, study it, memorize it, learn it, and
yeah, I'm gonna see if I can find it because I had it under something. I don't know where. I'll find it eventually. But yeah, the cycle of the body politic is a real good way to look at how a country rises and falls. And I found it as the best way to look at how a country rises and falls. And here I'll have the link for you right here. I will paste it right into this wonderful internet that we use, and that'll give you the cycle right there.
Thank you.
But that's what I see is the internet has the power to break that cycle. And Panda was born on the internet. We thrive on the internet. We work on the ground, but we thrive on the internet. And the internet is the greatest threat to tyranny, and that's why it also must be defended.
Well, I definitely want to ask you this question. There was an article written today. I forget who said it. It was, but they were talking about how the executive order for control over the infrastructure of the internet is almost done and ready to be implemented. Do you see that as an attack towards our only weapon?
I can't say because you have different sources saying different things about the executive order with no actual order. You can't look at it and say this is going to ruin the internet with any credibility if you haven't seen the order. Okay. So all of this is speculation right now.
Well, I mean, okay, well, let's just use what we do know with SOPA and PIPA. I mean, do you think we're going to get anything less than what they tried to pass legally through this legal executive order?
We'll get something less because the public's when there's a fire, you don't want to fan it. So you'll kind of throw a little gas in here, maybe a small portion of the fire will flame up, but you won't like dump an entire container of gas onto it. And that's the way I see with this executive order. If it's going to attempt to censor the internet, it's going to be a much softer version of SOPA or PIPA or Clean IT or whatever else that is coming out. It's going to be a much softer version because if they go too hard, they're going to face the internet again. And it was made very clear to the proprietors of SOPA and PIPA that the internet doesn't appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. Now, okay, so back to the NDAA. What? Yeah, go ahead. What actions are you and Panda going to take forward from, say today and the appeal going through and then fighting against the first appeal?
Yeah, it's very simple. We are using the court case as a great way to raise awareness, like we always have. And the people in the court case are, Tangerine's a great friend of ours. Don't get me wrong. These are not bad people. They're great people. It's just I don't place too much faith in the court case making it. Now, the way we go around is Thomas Jefferson said once, whenever government oversteps its bounds, nullification is the rightful remedy. And we are using that principle of nullification. You have sovereign counties and you have sovereign states, or parishes, or boroughs, or wherever it is where you're at. And these sovereign entities can nullify any law, Marbury versus Madison, any law that is unconstitutional is null and void on its face. Well, these counties and states can affirm that, and not only affirm it, but place law enforcement, aka the county sheriff, right behind that. So we're using the constitutional power of the county sheriff, fought all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the constitutional power of the county to nullify. And then we get enough counties in a state to nullify, and eventually that state nullifies the NDAA entirely. Like in Michigan, they have something going right now. Allegan County, already nullified, done and taken care of. And Michigan itself, there's HB 5768, Tom McMillan's bill, going through that would nullify partially the NDAA, but it's at least a step in the right direction.
Okay, great. Now, go ahead for any of the viewers that are watching, explain ways that they can get involved to help you, and any other organizations that you feel deserve, your plugging.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to Oath Keepers helped us get started. And Oath Keepers is an amazing organization of retired firefighters, police, and military, and some active duty, depending on your unit. You have to check there. But I highly recommend joining Oath Keepers, and there you can go to oathkeepers.org, and you can find out what they're all about. But it's basically keeping the constitutional oath as the last line of defense against tyranny. And I would highly recommend Oath Keepers. They did help us get started, so I guess I have a little bit of a bias there. But great organization. And how you can get involved with P.A.N.D.A, just go to pandaunite.org. There's a join us link in big red letters on the side, and you can join us. We will contact you afterward. Put a phone number there. It's easier for us to contact you that way. And we can help. You can help in starting chapters. You can help in other administrative ways as well. But especially Oath Keepers if you're retired military or law enforcement, and that's how you can join both organizations there.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us on the show, and we hope to have you on again real soon. You're a real smart kid, and we need more like you.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Oh, definitely.
And that is the end of the interview with Dan Johnson. I'd like to personally thank him for his time. And folks, if you'd like to get involved, we'll put the link at the bottom. And stay tuned for part 2.
So I'm saying, he's outside,